All right, today we're looking at the Worksharp system. You can get this on Amazon for between $50 and $75, depending on exactly what version you get. This is the version that comes with the 3 abrasives, a blade clamp, the work base, and the guide and blade holder. It's adjustable to set the angle you want on the blade you're sharpening, and this snaps right into this base right here. Now, this unit doesn't tie to the table or your workbench, but it does have some non-skid plates on the bottom that allows you to gain a little bit of purchase on your working surface. But you shouldn't be manhandling something like this. You shouldn't be laying into it like you would with a file. This is one of those tools where you let the tool do the work for you. Now, today's knife that we're going to sharpen is my favorite knife for social occasions. This is a ShivWorks Disciple. So let's go into this. One of the first things we need to discuss is the fact that because this is diamond and ceramic, we do not need to use lubricant, which is nice for cleanup. All you do when you're done is you take the stone setup, you go to the kitchen sink, and you wash it off with soap, and you let it dry. The blade clamp feels a little flimsy, but I'm going to hold this up to the camera. It's actually designed pretty well. It's 2 jaws and then a nice little V there that will hold most of your knives quite securely. One of the reasons we're working with this knife today is twofold. It's got a slightly curved edge, so that's going to make working with these stones interesting and see if they're small enough to actually meet that guide. And the profile on the back of the blade is difficult to hold secure in a number of clamping systems. So it'll be a really good test for this. So there's a thumb screw here. We open up the jaws, place our knife securely into it, and we find our middle point. It's adjusted a little bit so that it sits nice and even, and then we tighten that thumb screw up and get a good purchase on it, and that seems to be quite solid. Now, the Worksharp does not get held together by bolts or anything like that. It uses magnets. One of the nice things about that is it prevents you from really laying into the knife you're working on and messing it up. One of the things I find personally useful is I like to go over the edge of my knife with a magic marker before I put it into any sort of system like this. This allows us to make sure we're getting a consistent pull all the way across, and it allows us to make sure that each time we change grits, we're actually getting an even grind across the blade. So all you do is you take your magic marker and you go right along your edge. Yeah, it's essentially using it like die-chem or layout fluid that you would use if you were doing any level of accurate sheet metal work or anything that you would need layout fluid for. So we're going to do this on both sides, and that's going to give us the ability to really see what we're doing. So on the Worksharp here, you'll see that we have the slot where this fits into, and it just drops right in and locks in. That simple. On the back, there is a button that you can push to rotate the blade in whatever direction you want it to be. Now, in the one knife I've done previously, I just found it easier to take the knife out and put it back in than mess around with the button. Seems kind of useless, and maybe it's just me and the way I put it in there, but it hits the table. So you got to pick it up and turn it around and just pull it out and flip it over. Now you see the stones on here rotate, and you know, they're not the most super high quality diamond stones, but they feel pretty good when you're working on the knife, and they do get things quite sharp. So we're going to start on this one. We're going to skip the 320 grit because honestly this knife is still relatively sharp. It's been a bit since I've sharpened it, but we don't need to go grinding and reprofiling that edge. So we're just going to go ahead and drop straight to the 600, and you can see it rotates and locks. Now you got these little rubber stoppers here that you use to set how far you push and pull this, and this is really useful so that you don't slide off and booger up your edge. We got a little pivot point here. This pivot point slides up into this notch here, just like so. Because this is a knife for social occasions, I like to keep a very, very acute edge on it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to right about 15 degrees. Good to go. Now, how to use this. It's relatively straightforward and simple. Grabbing a hold of the stone, we've got our edge marked. We're simply going to lay it on our edge up to the end of your plunge grind and move it back and forth. You don't need to use a lot of pressure. You really shouldn't be forcing it. And I keep saying that because if you do force it, you're going to topple this over, and you don't want to do that. And we simply work this back and forth over the edge until our magic marker that we've drawn on the edge is gone. And then we know that we've gotten to the point with that grit stone that we can flip the knife over. We're back inside now. As you can see there in that last bit of video, I was looking really closely at the edge on that knife, and I realized that it's going to take a lot longer to finish and get that knife quite right the way I want to. I really need to reprofile the complete edge, and that's going to take a good bit. But just some thoughts off the top of my head about this entire system. It's actually really good for the price you're paying, which is, like I said, $50, $75. You can even go up to $95 on the version that has, like, I think it comes with 3 or 4 more of the stone units that include like a leather strop and various other grits. My understanding is you can also get round rods for it and pretty much everything you need. So you can buy really expensive waterstones or whetstones, oil stones, whatever your preferred favorite method is, and that's a whole science and a skill in and of itself. But if you need something that just put a high quality edge on your pocket knives, your kitchen knives, I wouldn't really go and try to sharpen a Bowie knife with this. It's too small, it's too light, it's really not designed for that. It's more of a pocket knife, kitchen knife sort of sharpening system. But here's the Voyager I did the other day with it, and like I said, for this video and the information I'm trying to give you, reprofiling that edge would have taken a lot of time to shoot, and I will do that at some other point later this evening. But unfortunately, I have to bathe my dog, and, well, that's not an unfortunate thing, but it's a thing that's got to be done. Do some laundry, some other stuff, you know, household chores, yada, yada, yada. But the important thing is that this thing, the Worksharp, gets your knives very sharp. This, I mean, I can't complain about this level of sharpness at all. And it doesn't take much time. You can see I'm barely touching this paper. And this is hair popping sharp. And this is a used and abused cold steel Voyager. This is my true EDC carry. I've mentioned this knife before. This particular one I've had for, I don't know, 11, 12 years, something like that. Just shortly after they changed to this new hand design. And, well, I've been hitting the head a lot. So I don't really remember exactly when I bought this, but I've been carrying Voyager, the cold steel Voyager, for a long time. And I've used and abused it. And it took nothing for me to reprofile it and sharpen it to this sharp with that Worksharp. So, $50 base model, definitely recommend. It's a good tool. And it's light, plastic, but it'll do everything you need it to do in most cases. So, I'd buy one if I were you.